New Westminster, Tur. New Westminster, colloquially known as New West, is a city in the Lower Mainland region of British Columbia, Canada, and a member municipality of the Metro Vancouver Regional District. It was founded by Major-General Richard Moody as the capital of the newborn colony of British Columbia in 1858 and continued in that role until the Mainland and Island Colonies were merged in 1866. It was the British Columbia Mainland's largest city from that year until it was passed in population by Vancouver during the first decade of the 20th century. It is located on the banks of the Fraser River as it turns southwest towards its estuary, on the southwest side of the Burrard Peninsula, and roughly at the center of the Greater Vancouver region. History. Before the settlers arrived from various parts of the world, the area now known as New Westminster was inhabited by Kakig First Nation. The discovery of gold in BC and the arrival of gold seekers from the south prompted fear amongst the settlers that Americans may invade to take over this land. Richard Clement Moody arrived in British Columbia in December 1858 at the head of the Royal Engineers Columbia Detachment, having been handpicked to found a second England on the shores of the Pacific. Moody wanted to build a city of beauty in the wilderness and planned his city as an iconic visual metaphor for British dominance, styled and located with the objective of reinforcing the authority of the Crown and of the Road. Subsequent to the enactment of the Preemption Act of 1860, Moody settled the Lower Mainland and selected the site and founded the new capital, New Westminster. Moody and the Royal Engineers were trained in settlement and selected the site because of its defensibility. It was farther from the American border than the site of the colony's proclamation. Fort Langley possessed great facilities for communication by water, as well as by future Great Trunk railways into the interior, and possessed an excellent port. Moody was also struck by the majestic beauty of the site, writing in his letter to Blackwood, "The entrance to the Fraser is very striking, extending miles to the right and left are low marshlands apparently of very rich qualities, and yet the background of superb mountains, Swiss in outline, dark in woods, grandly towering into the clouds. There is a sublimity that deeply impresses you. Everything is large and magnificent, worthy of the entrance to the Queen of England's dominions on the Pacific mainland." My imagination converted the silent marshes into kite-like pictures of horses and cattle lazily fattening in rich meadows in a glowing sunset. The water of the deep, clear Fraser was of a glassy stillness, not a ripple before us except when a fish rose to the surface or broods of wild ducks fluttered away. It was suggested by Moody and the Royal Engineers Columbia Detachment that the site be proclaimed Queensborough. Governor James Douglas proclaimed the new capital with this name on February 14, 1859. The name Queensborough, however, did not appeal to London, and it was Queen Victoria who named the city after Westminster, that part of the British capital of London where the Parliament buildings were, and are to this day, situated. From this naming by the Queen, the city gained its official nickname, the Royal City. A year later, New Westminster became the first city in British Columbia to be incorporated and have an elected municipal government. It became a major outfitting point for prospectors coming to the Fraser Gold Rush, as all travel to the goldfield ports of Yale and Port Douglas was by steamboat or canoe up the Fraser River. However, Colonial Office Secretary Sir Edward Bulwer-Lytton forgot the practicalities of paying for clearing and developing the site, and the town and the efforts of Moody's engineers were continuously hampered by insufficient funds, which, together with the continuous opposition of Douglas, made it impossible for Moody's design to be fulfilled. Governor Douglas spent little time in New Westminster, and had little affection for the city, and the feelings were amply repaid by the citizens of New Westminster, who avidly supported Colonel Moody's city-building efforts and castigated the governor, who preferred to remain for the most part isolated in distant Victoria. In contrast to Victoria, where settlers from England had established a strong British presence, New Westminster's early citizens were largely Canadians and maritimers, who brought a more business-oriented approach to commerce and dismissed the pretensions of the older community. Despite being granted a municipal council, the mainlanders in New Westminster also pressed for a legislative assembly. Moreover, to pay for the expense of building roads into the interior of the colony, Douglas imposed duties on imports into New Westminster. In 1866, the colony of British Columbia and the colony of Vancouver Island were united as British Columbia. However, the capital of the colony of Vancouver Island, Victoria, located on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, was made the capital of the newly amalgamated colony of British Columbia, following a vote in the House of Assembly. On the day of the vote, one member of the Assembly, William Cox, one of the colony's Gold Commissioners and a Victoria supporter, shuffled the pages of the speech that William Franklin from Nanaimo, a New Westminster supporter, intended to give, so that Franklin lost his place and read the first paragraph 3 times. Cox then popped the lenses of Franklin's glasses from their frames so that the Nanaimo representative could see nothing at all of his speech. After a recess to settle the resulting uproar and allow the member from Nanaimo a chance to sort out his speaking notes and his spectacles, on the member's return to the House of Assembly, the Speaker John Sebastian Helmken from Victoria refused to allow Franklin a second chance to speak. The subsequent vote was 13-8 against New Westminster. With the entry of British Columbia into the Dominion of Canada in 1871, as the sixth province, New Westminster's economic prospects improved, but the royal city would lose out again, this time to the new railway terminus town of Vancouver, when the Canadian Pacific Railway was extended to the shores of Burrard Inlet, even though a spur of the railway did. In 1879, the federal government allocated 3 reserves to the New Westminster Indian Band, including 104 acres (0.42 km2) of the South Westminster Reserve, 22 acres (89,000 m2) on the north arm of the Fraser River, and 27 acres (110,000 m2) on Poplar Island. A smallpox epidemic devastated the New Westminster Band, reducing the band members from about 400 people to under 100. Many of the remaining K-8 were assimilated into other local reserves, such as the neighboring Musqueam Indian Band. Their reserve on Poplar Island was turned into an Aboriginal smallpox victim quarantine area. For decades, the Poplar Island Reserve was designated as belonging to all coast tribes. In 1898, a fire destroyed downtown New Westminster, and in 1913 the federal government seized most of the New Westminster Band's reserve lands. In 1916, the remaining land on Poplar Island was turned over to the BC government. From 1927 to 1969, the British Columbia Shore Station oceanographic program was collecting coastal water temperature and salinity measurements from New Westminster every day for the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. In 1991, the New Westminster Armoury was recognized as a federal heritage building on the Register of the Government of Canada Heritage Buildings. Along with the rest of the Greater Vancouver region, in 2020, New Westminster experienced the worst air quality in the world due to the combined effects of the 2020 Western American wildfires and a fire at the old pier at the Key. Geography. New Westminster is located on the Burrard Peninsula, mainly on the north bank of the Fraser River. It is 19 kilometers, 12 miles southeast of the city of Vancouver proper, adjacent to Burnaby and Coquitlam, and across the Fraser River from Surrey and Delta. A portion of New Westminster called Queensborough is located on the eastern tip of Lulu Island, adjacent to Richmond. The total land area is 15.3 square kilometers, 5.9 sq mi. Historical urban geography. New Westminster has changed markedly over time and by the results of its incorporation into the wider urbanization of the Lower Mainland. See also Architecture of Greater Vancouver. BC Penitentiary. In 1878, the Government of Canada opened the British Columbia Penitentiary, the first federal penitentiary west of Manitoba. BC Pen, or simply the Pen, as it was known and also in old days as the Skookum House in the English Chinook jargon Patois Common in early BC, was located between the Sepperton neighborhood and what is now Queen's Park. It housed maximum security prisoners for the next 102 years, closing in 1980. The original center block of the pen still stands and has been converted into offices. The gatehouse, steps leading up to it, and old coal house still stand. The rest of the pen's grounds have been filled with newly built townhouses and condominiums and parkland. Below the main complex on the waterfront, the prison's old armory still stands as part of a new waterfront park. This was also the location of the prison's wharf, which was much used when steamboat was the main means of transportation within the Lower Mainland and for some years after. Woodlands. The mental hospital for children was located to the west of the BC Pen and was adjacent to the off-ramps of the Pattullo Bridge. After it was closed, the derelict main building was, except for the tower entrance, destroyed by fire on July 9, 2008. In October 2011, all remaining old structures were leveled and cleared, to the joy of some former residents who had bad memories of their childhood experiences. Chinatown. New Westminster's Chinatown was one of the earliest established in the mainland colony and initially the second largest after Victoria's. Prior to the rise of Vancouver's Chinatown, it was the largest on the mainland following Barkerville's wane as a center of population. It was located along Front Street. A second Chinatown opened in an area known as the Swamp at the southwestern edge of downtown, bounded roughly by Royal Avenue, Columbia Street, and 8th and 12th Streets. The Swamp name is because area was then boggy ground of low value for the stone and brick buildings of the main part of downtown up Columbia Street to the northeast, and also close to the river and the railway. Chinatown was destroyed in the Great Fire of 1898 and only partly rebuilt afterwards, with a church and cultural and community events hall the first to be started. Columbia Street. Until the 1964 completion of the Highway 1 freeway, which bypassed New Westminster to its north, Columbia Street, the downtown core of New Westminster close to the city's waterfront, was the main commercial retail and service center for the Fraser Valley and nearby areas of Burnaby and Coquitlam. Known as the Golden Mile, it hosted major department stores such as Eaton's, Kresge's, and Woolworth's, as well as long-established New Westminster retailers. This was a time when road travel to Vancouver remained distant for valley communities, and daily interurban rail service to and from Chilliwack was still in place. The service ended in 1950. The quality of shops was such that even Vancouverites would make the trip by interurban rail or, later on, via Kingsway, originally called the Westminster Highway or Westminster Road, to shop on Columbia Street. In addition to the retailers, Columbia Street was home to major movie houses, the Columbia and the Paramount, rivaling in size and quality to those on Vancouver's Theatre Row. The freeway and the building of suburban malls with free parking is generally conceded to have killed Columbia Street, which fell into a slump despite the building of a large parkade above nearby Front Street in the 50s and 60s. Department stores other than the Army and Navy left downtown as the uptown area continued to develop to become New Westminster's main retail and services center. In October 2006, Columbia Street underwent reconstruction to change to one lane in both directions with a bike lane and reverse angle parking. This was done to encourage more foot and bicycle traffic. Major high-rise or renovation projects are completed or nearing completion. By May 2012, these include the Plaza 88 development, which includes 3 condominium towers, the complete renovation of the Columbia, which is now a cabaret-style theater for concerts, weddings, and fundraisers, and the home of Laugh Lines Comedy Club. The new $25 million Westminster Pier Park officially opened on June 16, 2012, and a new civic center and office tower named the Anvil Center on Columbia Street at Begbie Street completed Sept. 2014. The Salient Group built a tower on top of the Trapp plus Holbrook buildings while restoring the facade and another condominium called North Bank was built at the east entrance of Columbia Street. Close to the Trap Building, a major fire razed the E.L. Louis Building and the Hamley Block on October 13, 2013, displacing 30 businesses and destroying a chunk of Columbia Street's historical character. One of the most well-known of these businesses was Cop's Shoes, which had not changed between its 1925 opening and its closure in early 2013. Front Street, originally a dockside street and market, and also the location of the original Chinatown, Front Street was converted into a truck route bypass and elevated parkade during the 1960s in an effort to provide increased parking for adjacent Columbia Street. In recent decades, it has been the focus of the city's thriving antiques and second-hand trade, which is also concentrated on 12th Street. It has also been used as a location in feature films such as Rumble in the Bronx, substituting for the Bronx, I, Robot as a futuristic Chicago shooter doubling for Philadelphia, with the Fraser River being the Delaware River, and New Moon. In early 2016, a partial demolition of the parkade commenced as part of the city's continued efforts to revitalize and improve their waterfront area. Government House. The original colonial Government House was located approximately where Royal City Manor is now. It was originally occupied by Colonel Richard Moody, who commanded the Columbia Detachment of Royal Engineers who established the city. Rarely used by Governor Douglas, its first full-time vice-regal resident was Governor Frederick Seymour. New Westminster CPR Station. Adjacent to the new Westminster SkyTrain station, the city's former Canadian Pacific Railway station was renovated and converted into a branch of the Keg restaurant chain in 1973. In 2013, the Keg restaurant closed its doors due to structural issues of the building. It is now occupied by a neighborhood pub. The station is owned by Westminster Station Brewing Company, which signed a 15-year lease with the Keg in 2002. Queensborough. Queensborough was the name originally chosen for the colonial capital by Royal Engineer Commander Colonel Richard Clement Moody. When Queen Victoria designated New Westminster instead as her new capital's name, the name Queensborough became applied to New Westminster's portion of Lulu Island, across the north arm of the Fraser from the southern end of the city. Queensborough is today a growing housing area with its own distinct identity. Some new condominium complexes have been built adjacent to the Westminster Key development. In the Chinook jargon, Queensborough, an adaptation of the name Queensborough, is the usual name for New Westminster as a whole. There are now some big box stores such as Walmart and Lowe's, as well as the large Starlight Casino, and a small shopping center with outlet stores including Guess, Aldo Shoes, Bench, The Gap, Banana Republic, and Old Navy, among others. Sepperton. Sepperton was originally a suburb of New Westminster, named for the Columbia Detachment of Royal Engineers sappers, whose camp was on the hill now occupied by the Fraserview neighborhood. It is the location of the historic Fraser Cemetery, which rivals Victoria's Ross Bay Cemetery for the number of historically significant graves and monuments. Sepperton is the home of the first commercial brewery to operate in British Columbia, known as the City Brewery. Over the years, the brewery changed hands and was operated by Labatt's until it closed in 2005. In its place is a recent condo development known as the Brewery District, although there is no brewery on the premises. New Westminster does have two breweries currently. One is named Steel and Oak, which opened its doors in 2014 and is situated on the other end of the Westminster Key. The other brewery in New Westminster is named Another Beer Co., and it is located in Sepperton, close to where the Labatt's Brewery was in the Brewery District since 2019. Also located in Sepperton are the Royal Columbian Hospital, Sepperton Station, Braid Station, and the TransLink British Columbia headquarters. Uptown 6th and 6th and 6th. Development of an uptown commercial area around 6th Street and 6th Avenue started in 1954 with the opening of Woodward's department store. Added momentum came with the relocation of the public library from downtown to uptown in 1958. In 1992, Woodward's was expanded and modernized into a shopping center and took the name Woodward's Place. With the bankruptcy of Woodward's in 1993, the name of the center was changed to Royal City Centre Mall. Moody Park is an important recreational area in the uptown area. The West End. Opposite Sepperton's North End, New Westminster's West End was once fairly separate from the city proper, and has a neighborhood commercial node along 12th Street and 20th Street approximately between London Street and 8th Ave. The 12th Street area features antique and one-of-a-kind stores. Westminster Key. Westminster Key was a mid-1980s development to revitalize New Westminster and accompanied the development of the SkyTrain line to Vancouver. In addition to a large public market and a 2.5 diamond-rated hotel, the Inn at the Key, a large condominium tower and townhouse complex, was built, accessed from the older Columbia Street area of downtown by an overpass. The impetus provided by this project has spilled over onto the inland side of the rail tracks, with new tower developments focusing on the area southwest of 8th Street, the area known formerly as the Swamp and Chinatown. As of July 2007, the Key's commercial component had noticeably decreased, with many vacancies, compared to the much more active Lonsdale Key in North Vancouver. Responding to the decrease of business, the ownership group closed the Westminster Key Market for renovations. The market reopened as the River Market in September 2010 with Donald's Market as the main anchor. The Westminster Key is also known to house the world's largest tin soldier, which was given the title by the Guinness Book of World Records back in 2002. Demographics. The city had a total population of 70,996 2016 census. Languages. The 2016 census found that English was spoken as mother tongue by 50.47% of the population. The next most common mother tongue language was Tagalog, spoken by 4.5% of the population, followed by Mandarin at 4.4% and Punjabi at 3.5%. Commerce and industry. New Westminster secured a Canadian Pacific Railway CPR branch line in 1886, but the completion of the main transcontinental line to Vancouver in 1887 shifted trade to Vancouver, where the port was easier to access and never froze, unlike the Fraser River at New Westminster. Nonetheless, New Westminster weathered the loss and remained an important industry and transportation center. The local economy has always had a mix of industrial sectors, but it has evolved over the years, moving from a reliance on the primary resources of lumber and fishing in the 19th century to heavy industry and manufacturing in the first half of the 20th century to retail from the mid-1950s to the 1970s to professional and business media. The Columbian, originally the British Columbian, British Columbia's second newspaper, was founded in New Westminster by John Robson, later Premier, as was the founder of the first newspaper, the British colonist in Victoria, Amer de Cosmos. By the mid-20th century it had long since been eclipsed by the Vancouver newspapers and published its last issue on November 15, 1983, after a life of 123 years. CKNW, one of Canada's first private news radio, hotline and talk stations, began broadcasting from studios in New Westminster on April 1, 1944, originally in the Royal Windsor Hotel, then at a few other locations in the city, before moving to downtown Vancouver from its final New Westminster location at 8th and McBride. Although it has broadcast from Vancouver for the better part of half a century, it is still licensed to New Westminster, and its call sign still includes the letters NW for New Westminster. It is a mainstay of the BC broadcasting industry, where many notable reporters and broadcasters had their start. The city also maintains a 4-watt low-power amateur local and emergency information radio station at 88.7 FM, which uses the on-air branding CHNW. The call sign is unofficial, and the station is unlicensed, holding the hobbyist calls of S7 and WR Today. New Westminster is served by the New Westminster Record, part of the Glacier Media chain, which publishes once a week. New Westminster also has a community humor magazine called Piffle. Piffle is the creation of Columbian newspaper sports writer and Sepperton lad, Ron Loftus. When Ron retired, he sold Piffle to another Columbian reporter and Sepperton lad, Chris Sargent, who has published the magazine for the last 14 years. Arts and culture. The city has several live performance venues, ranging from the Massey Theatre, adjacent to New Westminster High School, to the Burr Theatre, a converted cinema on Columbia Street, and two theatrical venues in Queen's Park, one being the Bernie Legg Theatre, home of the Vagabond Players, which were formed in 1937. The Royal City Musical Theatre. Also in Queen's Park is the Queen's Park Arena, longtime home to the legendary New Westminster Salmonbellies professional lacrosse team, as well as an open-air stadium used for baseball and field sports. The Burr Theatre, originally the Columbia Theatre, named for New Westminster native Raymond Burr, was operated by the Raymond Burr Performing Arts Society, who produced professional quality mysteries and comedies between October 2000 and January 2005. February 2005 saw the theatre reopen as a vaudeville theatre with 3 major productions by the Heartaches Res Band, and in February 2006 collaboration with the Screaming Chicken Theatrical Society Pride. The theatre was sold by the City of New Westminster through a public request for proposal process to the owner of Laughlines Comedy Club. After extensive renovations to convert it into a cabaret-style theatre, it is now called the Columbia, home of Laughlines Comedy Club. Douglas College also offers post-secondary training in theatre, stagecraft and music, as well as non-credit courses in music for all ages and ability levels through the Douglas College Community Music School. Theatre productions and music concerts at Douglas College take place in the Laura C. Muir Performing Arts Theatre and the smaller, more intimate Studio Theatre from September to April. Every year, New Westminster hosts the New West Cultural Crawl to showcase the city's unique and talented artists. The Unique Mushtari, the Gum Festival of Indian classical music and dance, debuted in 2012, is produced by internationally acclaimed artists Cassius Khan and Amika Kushwaha to preserve the rare Indian arts, and is partnered with the Massey Theatre. The City of New Westminster operates 2 visual art galleries, New Media Gallery and the Community Art Gallery, both at Anvil Center. New Media Gallery was founded in 2014 and curates unique group exhibitions of leading international, national, and regional artists working with and around technology. The third-floor gallery space is a flexible 2,000-3,000 SQFT and is redesigned and rebuilt for every exhibition. Staff director curators curate 3-5 exhibitions per year. NNG does not maintain an art collection and does not do solo exhibitions. The gallery has developed a comprehensive sustainability program related to exhibition building, shipping, and design practices. Heritage. The main feature of the New Westminster Museum and Archives in WMA is the 1865 Irving House, which is said to be the oldest intact house in the BC Lower Mainland. In the museum are treasures such as the 1876 coach used by Lord Dufferin, then Governor-General of Canada, to tour the new province of British Columbia, including Barkerville via the Cariboo Road. The city's archives hold corporate and personal treasures such as 1859 maps of the city drawn by the Royal Engineers and official city records. Other heritage artifacts in the city include the 1937 Samson v. Padloo healer, the 1890s armories, 1850s historic cannons, 2 of the old BC pen buildings, numerous cemeteries, and dozens of heritage homes, many of which are from the 19th century. The museum is affiliated with Canadian Museums Association, the Canadian Heritage Information Network, and Virtual Museum of Canada. Kayak Festival and the Kayak Anvil Battery. New Westminster's May Day celebration began in 1870 and continues today as an important civic tradition, lending the city the distinction of having the longest-running May Day celebration of its type in the British Commonwealth. Within BC, at least 4 other communities still celebrate May Day: Port Coquitlam, Ladner in Delta, whose May Day festival began in 1896, Radnor in Abbotsford, and the Sunshine Coast's Pender Harbour. The May Day Festival, held on the Victoria Day weekend and more formally known as the Kayak Festival, is distinguished by the ancient and honourable Kayak Anvil Battery Salute, a tradition created by the New Westminster Fire Department during colonial times as a surrogate for a 21-gun salute. With no cannons available in the early colony, the fire department, known as the Kayaks, from the Chinook jargon for fast or quick, here derived from its use as a command for hurry up. Each year, in preparation for May Day, local schoolchildren are taught to dance around a maypole with colorful ribbons. Elections are held at elementary schools in the city, and from them one girl is selected to become the year's May Queen, and 2 students from each school to become members of her May Queen Suite and Royal Knights. On a Wednesday of the festival, elementary school students gather at Queen's Park Stadium to dance, and the May Queen is crowned. Education. Douglas College, a major post-secondary institution in Greater Vancouver, has a campus in New Westminster. The college has an enrollment of 14,000 students and offers degrees, associate degrees, and 2-year career and university transfer programs to local, national, and international students. The Justice Institute of British Columbia offers training to municipal police forces, fire departments, provincial corrections, court services, and paramedics with the British Columbia Ambulance Service. The institute operates a Center for Conflict Resolution, a Center for Leadership and Community Learning, executive programs, a public safety seminar series, and the Aboriginal Leadership Diploma Program. Voucher, Institute of Naturopathic Medicine Bingham, the only naturopathic medical school in Western Canada, offering the ND degree in naturopathic medicine in both 4-year and 6-year programs, is located here. There is also a campus of the West Coast College of Massage Therapy WCCMT located on Columbia Street. School District 40 New Westminster has 1 high school, New Westminster Secondary School, 3 middle schools, and 10 elementary schools. Other institutes: Sprott Shaw College, Winston College. Transportation. Road network. Much of New Westminster's street network still conforms to the original grid laid out by the Royal Engineers at the time of settlement. The grid is oriented to the riverfront and therefore deviates from the compass directions. Streets run northwest to southeast, and avenues run southwest to northeast. The Trans-Canada Highway, Highway 1, is accessible from nearby Coquitlam via the Brunet Avenue interchange, and Burnaby via the Cariboo Road and Canada Way interchanges, and provides expressway access to Vancouver, the North Shore, and the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal to the west, and to the British Columbia interior and the communities of. On its northern and western edges, New Westminster is connected to Vancouver by the street system of the city of Burnaby. The 3 major arterial streets in Burnaby connecting New Westminster and Vancouver are Canada Way, until 1967 named the Grandview Highway and called 8th St. once it enters New Westminster, Kingsway 12th St., and Marine Way Stewardson Way. Kingsway connects New Westminster with the major shopping and entertainment district of Metro Town in central Burnaby, and then proceeds to downtown Vancouver. The Queensborough Bridge, part of Highway 91, it connects Mainland, New Westminster to Queensborough, Richmond, and via the Alex Fraser Bridge, Delta. The Patlow Bridge links New Westminster with Surrey. The lesser-used Derwent Way Bridge connects Queensborough with Annacis Island of Delta. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, The city reallocated road space in New Westminster for cyclists and pedestrians as part of Streets for People in 2020 initiative. Public transit. Public transportation is provided by TransLink. Along with a number of bus routes, the city is served by the following stations on the SkyTrain system: 22nd Street Station Expo Line, Braid Station Expo Line, Columbia Station Expo Line, New Westminster Station Expo Line, Sepperton Station Expo Line. The city is located within Zone 2 of TransLink's fare structure. Railways. The city is served by 4 railways: CN Canadian National Railway, CP Canadian Pacific Railway, BNSF Burlington Northern and Santa Fe, and the shortline SRY Southern Railway of British Columbia. None offer passenger service. Streetcars and the interurban. Until the 1950s, New Westminster was linked to Vancouver and other municipalities by the BC Interurban Tram, the BC word for an interurban electric railway car network. Sports and recreation. The New Westminster Salmon Bellies are one of the oldest professional lacrosse teams in Canada and also have junior and midget teams. The Bellies, as they are also known, have won the Mann Cup 24 times. New Westminster is also the location of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. The New Westminster Royals were a professional minor league team from 1911 through 1914 in the heyday of the Pacific Coast Hockey League. Their home rink was the Denman Arena in Vancouver, which they shared with rivals the Vancouver Millionaires. Playing at Queen's Park Arena were 2 incarnations of a Western Hockey League junior team, the New Westminster Bruins 1971-1981 and 1983-1988. The Royal City High-X Football Club offers football and cheerleading for youth aged 5-13, while the local high school, New Westminster Secondary School, has high school football. Pacomo Rugby Football Club and Douglas Rugby Club, both teams play in New Westminster, merged in 2005 to form the United Rugby Club. Pacomo moved to New Westminster in the late 1960s, eventually calling Hume Park its home field. Douglas was formed by Pacomo players attending Douglas College in 1972. United Rugby currently uses Hume Park and Queen's Park for home venues. Youth soccer in New Westminster is represented by the Royal City Youth Soccer Club, established in 1965, with teams for boys and girls aged 4 to 17 that participate in league play from September to March. Additionally, the club offers spring programs for children aged 4 to 9 and futsal for children aged 10 to 17. The Sepperton Rovers men's soccer team has a long history in New Westminster. Soccer in the Sepperton community goes back to mid-19th century. The first soccer game in BC was played in New Westminster on Victoria Day, May 24, 1862, in the Woodlands/Victoria Hill area. The Columbian newspaper reported that the Victoria Day celebration included several sporting and cultural events, including a football-soccer match between the Royal Engineers, known as the Sappers, and the townsfolk. Sepperton Park was donated to the city in 1907 for the sole purpose of being used as a soccer venue. Many teams have since carried the Sepperton name. The High-X Swim Club, in operation since 1973, trains swimmers at Canada Games Pool, from a grassroots level up to international competition. Swimmers from across the Lower Mainland come to Canada Games Pool to train with this swim club. The swim club has trained many Olympians, Paralympians, and members of Canada's national team. High-X Swim Club hosts 4 meets each year, 2 of which are held at Canada Games Pool. The premier meet each year is held during the High-X Festival and attracts swimmers from across the province, Alberta, Washington, and Oregon. Mark Bottrill has been High-X Director of Swimming since 1999. High-X Swim Club's Drew Christensen represented Canada at the 2008 Paralympic Games. In July 2014, Major League Soccer's Vancouver Whitecaps FC announced plans to launch a USL Pro team in New Westminster. If it had been approved, the club would have been the first division, 3 club in Canada, and the 6th professional team in the country. Notable residents. Raymond Burr, actor, Burr, actor, Burr, actor, actor, Burr, actor, Burr, actor, John Cornish, football player, all player, all player, all player, player, all 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 player. Crystal Doll, actress. Bruno Gerasi, actor. Jean Gilchrist, baseball player of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Doug Grimston, 1900–1955, ice hockey administrator and president of the Canadian Amateur Hockey Association. Jarl Hine, poet. Cody Husband, football player. Peter Julian, community activist. Alexa Johnson, actress and musician. Bill Kenny, lead singer of the Ink Spots. Cassius Khan, Indian classical ghazal/tabla musician. Farhan Lalji, sportscaster TSN. Robert Langlands, Wolf Prize-winning mathematician. Nicholas Lee, actor. actor. John Kiefer Mahoney, soldier recipient of the Victoria Cross. Mandrake the magician. Eva Markfort, blogger. Katharina Matusek, pairs figure skating Olympian and 1984–1985 world bronze medalist. James Moore, former politician. Justin Morneau, baseball player. Baseball player, all 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 player. Baseball player, all player, all player, all player. David Paul, football player, all player, all player, all player, all player. Football player, all player, all football player. Bel Puri, journalist, stylist. Mike Reno, musician. Phil Ranford, NHL goaltender, 1990 NHL Play MVP. Goaltending coach, Los Angeles Kings. Rini Sarojini Saklikar, poet and writer, wife of Adrian Dix. Ernest Smith Akasmoky Smith, soldier, recipient of the Victoria Cross. Snack the Ripper, rapper, Dave Steen, decathlete, Olympic medalist, ballists. Robert Thirst, astronaut. Devin Townsend, musician. Kyle Turris, ice hockey player, ice hockey player. Terry Yake, ice hockey player, Felix Cartel, musical artists. International relations. Sister cities. Moriguchi, Osaka, Japan. The sister city relationship between New Westminster and Moriguchi in 1962–1963 was the first sister city agreement between Canadian and Japanese cities. Quezon City, Philippines. The agreement was signed in June 1991. Lijiang, Yunnan, China in 2002. Friendship cities. Xinjiang, Jiangsu, China 2008. Yunfu, Guangdong, China 2009. Adopted city. Anapa during World War II. In 1944, New Westminster adopted Anapa, a town on the northeastern Black Sea coast. This was not a formal sister city arrangement, and it has lapsed in the intervening years.